the way I got involved with Jim's campaign was he came to my door asking for signatures on his initial petition. And I had questions about what he stood for schools, because I've worked in public education for over 30 years and that's really important to me, and I think we can be doing a lot better with Pasadena schools. And I also have a lot of concerns about the horrible overgrowth of our city. And he just had such good answers to both of those problems that I was very, very happy to sign his petition, and I've been supporting him since.
Jim has been a very good neighbor to us. He's been very considerate, very helpful. He's always very helpful to us.
I trust Jim, you know. Being in this neighborhood, I like this neighborhood, and I trust him with his judgment.
Jim has worked very hard to get this neighborhood established as an historic neighborhood. He's campaigned, gone door to door, and done a lot of work to make that happen, and was successful in bringing it about.
I think having Jim on City Council would give us a good safety valve so that things that get passed by various commissions and come up to City Council don't just get rubber stamped. He may be the one to say, wait a minute, this is wrong, even though it's been recommended by our volunteer city commissions and other bodies. There are problems with this and we should take a second look at it. He would be the person of last resort to keep something bad from happening to our city. That's one reason why I want him on City Council.
Jim and I served on the Commission for Community Development for about 4 or 5 years. I'm not sure which, but it was we had a very good working relationship. He became chair after a period of time, and he was fair in making his decisions and governing the overhaul body of the CDC committee.
I asked one or two of the professional staff people in our department. They said they liked him. He was decent, and they pointed out, one of them had pointed out that he had worked on the Arroyo master plan with quite a few other people, Claire Bogard and a few of the others, and that worked out fine, according to one staffer I talked to, who was very close and involved in that project. Then I talked to 2 other of our staff people in the parks about his experience on the design committee, and they said he was very good, he was agreeable and easy to work with. So that's why I'm here, supporting Jim Lomako, and I'm going to walk the precincts with him and right up through Election Day.
Jim and I, and there was another commission that worked as representatives of the design commission, as well as individuals from the community on the Arroyo Seco master plan. Our main goal was to work on the design element of the master plan, and of course, getting everybody together on the same page is difficult to do. And we broke up into various subcommittees, and Jim headed one of the subcommittees that we worked on. And he was actually the person that built a consensus to help us work with the subcommittee and come up to some degree of design elements that we wanted to enforce or get enforced as we'd pass this along to City Council for the Central Arroyo design elements.
I think what was extremely important to all of us who worked very, very hard to preserve the Raymond Theater was that when push came to shove and there were approvals to be granted or not granted, and there were clearly issues that were unresolved, Jim really stood up when nobody else would, and stood up for the Raymond Theater and the things that were right, regardless of the problems he was given by the City Council or whatnot. He stood up for the Raymond Theater and did the right thing.
A few years ago, I represented an African-American family who had a small business on Fair Oaks, and the city staff proposed to sell a small vacant lot that the city owned next to them to a developer. The lot was only about 10 feet wide and really couldn't be used by anybody but this business next door, and for the staff to recommend that being sold to somebody else was in effect meaning that this little business couldn't expand. And the staff was basing their decision on the fact they said, well, the developer is in the neighborhood and he has a property down the street. And then we were at the committee and Jim questioned the staff, well, how do you know he has a lot down the street? How do you know he owns this property you say he owns? Well, he's told us he did. And then when we started questioning it, they really had no basis to know that. And my clients came in and said, no, we know those people. He doesn't own that land. There's someone else who owns that land. And so that just by questioning the city staff was a decision, a bad decision, prevented. It was a small issue, But it was that aspect, to question the city staff, and so not accepting everything they say as gospel, that I think is extremely important for a council member.
I met Jim about 6 years ago when we both served on the Design Commission, and I'm currently a member of the Historic Preservation Commission. Jim and I, with all the other commissioners on the Design Commission, spent endless hours debating and discussing all the projects that come before the Design Commission. And I know Jim's heart is in the preservation of the neighborhoods of Pasadena. Also, Jim represented the Design Commission to the City Council on many occasions, which is a very important endeavor, because it really is important to be there to answer any questions the City Council may have, and also to have your voice heard. And I know that if Jim is elected to City Council, he will be somebody who regards the recommendations of all of the commissions very strongly, which is something I feel as a commissioner is needed more in our City Council.
Jim's the kind of guy who can understand what's going on and is willing to do his homework. You know, I don't know how many times I jump to conclusions and I say, well, this is what's going on, and he knows because he's done the research. And he does the research, and then when people try to sneak around the corner, he's there with the flashlight and he's shining it on it. And it's surprising how one person who knows what's going on and is willing to stand up, how much of a difference they can make.